Hello, hello. Welcome to the party. My name is Michael Dincio, and I am your host and presenter tonight. Really looking forward to tonight's presentation. This is one that we do quite often, and I'm excited about it. A lot of you, if you're joining, you're thinking startup. And, the great thing about a startup is that you get to design it any way you want, and you get to reverse engineer the perfect situation for yourself. So I am super excited about uh, talking tonight and just kind of sharing my knowledge with you guys. But we are going to go through it for about an hour. I will say that, comments and questions. So for those of you that are not familiar with the software, unlike Zoom or like Zoom, there's kind of like a comments kind of chat window that you can click on. I would love for you all to ask questions, because tonight is really about you and less about me. And some of these topics and things that we're going to discuss, feel free. It can be anonymous, I believe, and just share questions, and I'd love to answer live situations. Happy to do that. Okay, so without further ado, let's get cracking here. So who am I? I'm Michael Dincio, one of the founders at Next Level Consultants. I've been doing this for many, many years. We help about 40 doctors get into ownership year over year. And I'm proud of that number, as we help lots of folks get into ownership successfully. Our mantra is helping doctors make great decisions. And we know you all did not go to school to learn business. You're very talented and extremely smart. But designing a business and running a business can be challenging. And so I started the company of almost 7-8 years now. I was a lender before that. So I worked for one of the largest dental lenders in the country, and did that for many years. Lent you guys millions and millions of dollars. I think it was over 200 startups and acquisitions I touched at my time as a lender. So I've seen a lot of things over the years, and tonight I'm going to share that with you. Before I kind of get into the startup, we are a full service consulting firm. We help doctors get into ownership. We help doctors fee negotiate and get into contract with insurance companies. We help doctors grow their businesses once they get the keys and they are owners. We have an amazing practice management and consulting group attached to the company. Some incredible coaches that help doctors grow and stabilize their business after they purchase, or after many years of just maybe plateauing. We are also a remote billing company and insurance verification company. So we do a lot of different things, but tonight is all about the startup. So without further ado, let's get going. So tonight, the theme tonight is really all about being intentional about a startup and reverse engineering what you're trying to do. So 3 layers to that framework. You've got your goals, then you have to hit the planning, and then you have to execute and work on your processes. And I find that a lot of doctors just kind of go into a startup meandering through the process. And when I was a lender, I always found it really interesting that people would call me and they had no business plan, no vision, really. Not always, but a lot of people really just didn't know what they were trying to do, but they wanted to do a startup and they wanted to get into business. They did know that. And I just found it very interesting that, in today's world, if you have a DMD or a DDS behind your name, you can get really easy financing. You can get a lot of money thrown at you. And a fun statistic that a lot of people throw around is that the average startup fails less than 1% of the time. And that's true. That's very true. So anybody could do it, right? And that's true. Anybody could do it. However, doing it correctly is a whole nother ball of wax. And I talk to doctors every single day as a consultant where people are just barely making it by. They're not making as much money as they want. They're super stressed. They hate owning. They wish they hadn't owned. And that breaks my heart. But I'm not surprised that I have a lot of those calls simply because maybe a lack of business training, business acumen. But I also think that maybe they just got into it the wrong way. Maybe they purchased the wrong practice for them. Or maybe they just did a startup and just did not walk through and actually reverse into this based on what you're trying to do. So it's having a goal, planning for that goal, and then executing. And that's really, really important that's going to be the theme tonight. And again, walking into a lender and just saying, hey, how do I do this? You are exposed. You going to a contractor, equipment rep, IT professional, lender, you will spend more money, borrow more money. You will get into a scenario like that if you are not intentional about your process. So instead of really approaching that market, or those people, those professionals with, hey, how do I do it? The goal tonight is to get you to think about walking into that meeting and saying, I want to borrow $850,038. Going to a contractor and say, my budget is $325,000. Can you do it? My, equipment professional, I'd like to look at these 3 manufacturers, not just one of the, one manufacturer. And I want to look at this digital package or whatever, but there's a lot more intentionality behind that than just going into those meetings and having them pull you through it. I used to be one of those ones that pulled people through it. And I'm going to tell you, I always said, like, when I lent somebody back in the day, gosh, in 2012, when I was lending to people, I used to approve people for $450,000 to do a startup. And my competitors would be lending $500,000 or $550,000, sometimes actually $600,000. So here I was doing startups and helping people do them at $450,000, where my competitors were doing $600,000. And I always said, like, if I approve you for $450,000, what do you think your loan would be, or how much do you think you'll spend? It's almost exactly $450,000. But if I gave you $600,000, how much do you think you'd spend? It's exactly $600,000. And that's a shame, right? Like, that some people are doing it for $450,000 and others are doing for $600,000. Now, these are 2012 numbers. Do not write those numbers down. It's old news. But the same theory applies. If you're approved for $800,000 with you'll do your startup for $800,000. If you're approved for $1 million, you're going to spend $1 million, and you have to be intentional about going into that process to potentially save yourself $200,000. So it's all about the goal, planning, and execution, and that's what we're going to go over tonight, or at least a few steps of it, or get you thinking about it. So for me, you guys, like, I'll tell you right now, like, location. This is probably the biggest topic of a startup. And there's a lot of different theories around this. And we can discuss those. If you have questions, please throw them up. But essentially, I'm giving you a snippet of something that we look at. And this is like a pretty sophisticated demographic report. This isn't the only thing we do, but the location is everything. And so before I kind of get into these metrics, I'm going to back up so that you guys don't try to, like, read this slide. I want you to think, I want you to actually think about this. So a lot of my clients, they approach me and they say, hey, Mike, I want to do a startup. Let's just say Seattle, because I live here. Okay. Hey, Mike, I want to live in Bellevue, Washington. That's kind of like the nice place to be in Washington is Bellevue, Washington. Everybody wants to be in Bellevue or Kirkland or Issaquah. So those are kind of like the hot places. People make a lot of money in those areas. The real estate's great. And so that's like everybody wants to take their kids to school there. So that's like the place. So I get that call all the time, every single day. And we'll do it. Like we'll look at demographics like I'm about to show you, and we'll do it, and I'll help them do it. But then there's another type of client that hires me that says, hey, Mike, of course, I'd love to be around Bellevue, Issaquah, Kirkland, but you know what? I'm okay driving. I'm okay driving 30 minutes to work, or I'm okay living 30 minutes away from that city. And I just want you to find me an area in the vicinity of these pockets. And I want you to find me an area that's high demand for dentistry, not that much competition or less competition. I will tell you, I have been a part of a handful of $1 million starts, and those that approach me on that second approach have a better opportunity or an easier opportunity to do $1 million start because they're reverse engineering into it. They're going to an area where we know there's only one dentist serving 8,000 people. Everybody's trying to go into the area of Bellevue, Washington. That's 1,000 people per dentist. So guess what, guys? You got to start opening up your mind and potentially looking at the emerging markets, the next Bellevue, the next Kirkland, the next Issaquah, or insert city. It's those fringe markets that you always want to think about. And I love that second option. So as we approach this conversation about startups, is just this reverse engineering idea will set you up for the greatest success. Okay. So location. We help you do and look at things just like this. So these blue areas on this report are very, very competitive. The red areas, or maybe this maroon color, are more desirable. I chase clusters. This is only, it looks like 19 circles. We can double, triple the amount of circles. We could throw 100 circles up on this grid, no problem. And so you just start looking at areas from a competition perspective, from a ratio perspective, and you reverse engineer kind of what that looks like. And so we're looking at population. We're looking at dental offices per population. My target range is somewhere, to set yourself up for success. I like minimum 3,500, like this circle right here, circle 7. Right up here, it looks like there's 3,500 per one dentist. But the cool thing about this is clustered around 11 too. So circle 11 is at 4,600. So this cluster looks really, really good if I went right into the middle of it. But you'll notice right to the left in circle 19, it's horrible. It's the worst. So you're going to notice that growth and opportunity are always kind of around the city. The city's already saturated. And so we want to look at that. We also want to look at household income for those of you. And again, vision is everything. You have to get crystal clear about your vision. I'm going to touch on a little bit of that on the next slide. But I have clients chasing Medicaid that want Medicaid and understand what Medicaid's all about. And it's high volume, super efficient systems. I have other clients that want really small offices that are maybe 1,200 square feet, 3 to 4 ops, and are doing fee for service, big cases. So all of that matters, which is why we want to look at household income. Something like this circle 2, it looks good in theory, which is right here. The population per dentist is good. It's okay, not great, but it's 12,000 per dentist. That's a great spot to be. But it's $53,000 in income, which means it's probably a Medicaid in a low income area. So if that was your vision for serving that population, that community, You set up a shop right there. You got to be okay with that type of population. But guess what? You're going to absolutely crush, because there is a lot of dentistry that needs to get done in this area. Again, opportunity. On that note, before I pivot, guys, ladies, team, whoever's on, there's some people commenting. Here's a survey question. Which company makes more money, Nordstrom or Walmart? Vote. Go. Nordstrom or Walmart? Just so I know you guys are awake. Which company on the Fortune whatever 500 list, who makes more money, Walmart or Nordstrom? Time's a ticking. Come on, guys. Don't look it up. Don't use AI. Come on. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait this out and make sure you guys are not sleeping on the job here. Nothing. Come on. All right. Yes. Thank you, Jordan. Geez. Yes, Jordan. Walmart. Easy decision. 1000%. And so the point that I'm making here is there's nothing wrong with putting a business right here and making a ton of money and serving a different community. You know, the sexy Nordstrom kind of model is great. Fee for service, huge cases, you know, all the things. But like, there's nothing wrong with making way more money and serving a community that needs the help. So I'm not suggesting we all do Medicaid. I'm not suggesting that. You don't even have to probably do Medicaid. But there is business plans that make sense for everyone. I just helped a pediatric, holistic dentist that is going fee for service in roughly actually this area, this Texas area. And guess what? She's doing fantastic. She's doing so good. So again, we look at these things and reverse engineer the kind of clients that you're really looking for, which really segments us to this next question. Does your vision serve? Your vision has to serve as a roadmap for all business decisions. So I just said, how are you going to do? Are you going to do Nordstrom? Are you going to do the Walmart? Something in between? Are you going to do fee for service? What's that look like? And it has to drive everything moving forward. You can't just call up Bank of America and say, I want to do a startup. You have to have all of this figured out before you approach Bank of America. You should anyways. Okay, how many clinical days? I'm going to tell you right now, we've helped many doctors stay within a 3-day work week, hitting well over $1 million after the 3rd or 4th year. And they're still on their only open 3 days a week. It can be done. My business partner hit $1 million, Paula, when she had $1 million working 3 days a week, worked 5 ops, and it was a beautiful thing. And so how many days do you want to work? Again, how many ops do you need? There's a lot of podcasts. There's a lot of books. There's a lot of people out there that say, go big, go home. You know, if I was serving, back to this slide, if I was serving a community right here where there's 12,000 to 1 that needs a dentist, my facility is going to be a lot bigger, right? It just will, because it's going to be volume based. But if your business plan isn't that, well, I think we need to be smart about how many ops you need and what that looks like. How many chairs do you want to work? How many hygienists do you want to have? Are you going to have another dentist potentially share space with you? Maybe you work 3 days, they work 3 days, you overlap on one of the days. You know, it all matters on how we approach this startup. What specific procedures do you want to do? Again, holistic pediatric dentist with tongue tie. What procedures do you want to do and what energizes you? Of course, now when you do a startup, guys, it's not like you're going to wake up one morning and just do implants all day just because you set up a startup. But there can be a business that we create and think about where you might only be open 1 or 2 days, and we do big marketing big marketing dollars and fish for implants, and we pack one day first and then we pack the second day and build it out like a specialist. Sure. Or you could do more of a preventative style, build up volume, pull the implants out of it. So like, these are the types of conversations that I literally have every single day, but I want you to start thinking about like all of this and how you would set yourself up for long-term success, designing your perfect situation. How far do you want to drive? How much space do you need? Before I get into that, guys, a little worksheet real quick. Like, I don't know, for those of you that are engaged in the chat, thank you, Jordan and Anand. Folks, I want you to think about this. Not too many people talk about this, and this is exactly why you might consider having a consultant on your side. I want you guys to write down, and I'll do it with you so I know how much time you need, but I want you to write down 1,800 square feet, and then I want you to write down 2,500 square feet, right? So on a piece of paper, write 1,800 and 2,500 square feet. Just stack it. Okay, so we all know that that's only 700 square feet difference. Okay, some of you are thinking, well, that's not much, and that's true. That isn't that much. But in terms of operatories, okay, 1,800 square feet can get you about 5 ops. It's a pretty small space, but that can get you exactly 5 ops. Where 2,500 square feet, that's going to get you closer to 7 ops. So you gain 2 ops, and you're all thinking, ooh, more money, 2 ops. Absolutely, that's true. However, I'm about to show you what this means. So so how much space? That's ultimately what we're working on right now. All reverse engineering what we're trying to do. Okay, so if I have 1,800 square feet, and let's just say construction is, I'm on a webinar where there's folks all around the country on this webinar. So let's just say 180, it's probably pretty cheap. Let's just do $200 a square foot on average to build out the office. So $200 times 1,800 is $360,000 to just construct an 1,800 square foot. Now let's do it for 2,500. 2,500 square feet, only 700 square foot difference times $200. That's $500,000. So the difference between 500 and 360 is a whopping almost $150,000. So right there, just a 700 square foot difference is going to cost you an additional $140,000 of construction. That's a big number. That's a big difference, right? The next thing I want to show you is, let's talk rent, and we're going to hit break even here in a second, break even and what that looks like. But let's just take $35 a square foot on average for rent of an 1,800 square foot space. That's $63,000 a year in rent for 1,800 square foot. Now let's do it for 2,500 square feet. $35 a square is a good average. That's $87,000 a month or a year in rent. So my point to this is, just that 700 square foot difference is going to cost you $150,000 more in construction and pretty much $25,000 a year more in rent. I don't know how you guys feel about these numbers, but when you are literally a startup and let's just say you knock it out of the park, you guys, and get 40 new patients your first month as a startup, that is about working 4 days a week. 3 days a week, 4 weeks a month. That's somewhere between 3 to 4 patients a day. And you literally just knocked it out of the park with 40 new patients a month. My point is 150 grand more in debt, which is a higher loan payment, and $25,000 more a year in rent, and you're seeing 3 patients a day, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So my whole point to this conversation is we have to think about what you're trying to do and reverse engineer into something that makes sense and is smart. Not enough of these conversations are happening with startups going into the market. Yes, less than 1% of you will fail doing a startup. That's a true fact. I worked for B of A. That's a true fact. That's a number. But I'm betting you that the vast majority, well, not say vast majority, I would guess that like at least 40% of them, just like acquisitions, not any different, 40% of them are struggling and very stressed and regret their decisions. So we need to go into this process meticulously. We need to think about what you're trying to do, what patients you want to serve, how far you want to drive, how much space you're going to need, how many days you're going to be open, all the things. Okay. So sorry for the little math quiz there, but I just want you to think about that. Even doing it 1,800, 2,200 versus 2,500, do the same thing. You're going to see that it's some big numbers. It's big numbers, just 300 square feet difference. Okay, next slide. So reverse engineering the math. I want you guys to think about this. And essentially, I have a lot of conversations with you guys daily around how much money you need to make, right? Most of my clients, I'm looking at my clients, and I'm asking them, how much do you make? What are your bills? Do you have anybody support you? What does that all look like for you? And why I ask that question is because everyone wants to make $500,000 a year, of course, right? But we need to make this jump from associate to ownership as a startup. We need to think about what your desired take home is in years 1, 2, 3, and beyond. We need to look at years 1 through 5 and even 10, and we need to reverse engineer that. And so essentially, I would love to challenge you all to think about what that first year looks like, and then look at what collections you need, and then look at how much production you need because of the write-offs and adjustments, and look at that daily production, and then think about how many patients it would take and what marketing budget it would require, and how much team you're going to hire, because based on team and loans and rent will all dictate your overhead, which will depend on the desired take home. So think about all of this. Don't just throw into ChatGPT, write me a business plan on how to do a dental startup. This all has to be customized and thought about. And these are the kind of things that we talk about for our clients. I will make a fun fact that a couple proud comments that I'll make is most startups will break even inside 6 to 8 months. Actually, that's my next slide. Most startups will break even inside 6 to 8 months, and that's what Bank of America will tell you. Okay. I'm proud to say we track our clients through 12 months and financially. And I'm proud to say that our clients break even somewhere between 4 to 6 months. So I would like to say that we cut your break even, your break even projections in half. And how do we do that? Well, we look at these 4 major things to calculate break even, and we reverse engineer back into this. So your 4 biggest costs are rent, wages and salaries, and of course your debt payment. Now that debt payment is based on that project. We just talked about 700 square feet. That was just construction. There's also equipment. There's IT. There's signage, permitting, design, legal fees, marketing, of course, consulting if you desire. The list goes on. Furniture, fixtures, initial supplies. I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of things, but the point is that budget matters because it then translates into debt, and then the debt equals how much your loan payment is, and that will control your break-even calculation. So our goal is to try to get our clients, write this down, somewhere between $20,000 to $25,000 to break even. Most consultants won't share that. This is a tell-all presentation. If you all don't know me very well, I'm a straight shooter. I tell it how it is, and I don't hold anything back. So you guys have me for an hour tonight, and I'm just going to hit you hard. But my hope is that you guys reach out to me after this presentation. We start talking about you and your business and how we can help you create what you're looking to do. But back on track here. So debt and projections matter. Rent, of course, matters. We just talked about that. How much square footage are you going to rent, which dictates how much your rent payment is, which dictates your BAM, right? So all that matters. Now, the biggest thing is salaries and wages. How many people are you going to hire? And a lot of people, I think I get into this a little bit later on, but actually I will, so I'll pause. But the fourth thing that I did want to cover tonight is marketing. So sadly, for some reason, people think that marketing is just kind of something that we need to kind of do. That couldn't be further from the truth. Marketing needs to be a huge expense to your P&L in your first year. And you're like, yeah, of course. Yeah, well, guess what? $30,000 is my kind of bare minimum. The doctors that I've helped do $1 million starts in competitive markets spend 10 grand a month, 120 a year. So we need to get really serious about our marketing budgets. And unfortunately, you guys approach Bank of America, name it whatever bank, you approach contractors, equipment reps, and you spend all the money, and then you don't have any money left to go where? Marketing. So being unintentional about this process simply gets you a more expensive space and less money to spend in marketing. And that, my friends, is a huge, huge pitfall. A lot of my clients have to dip into their own pockets on the marketing because they decided to go with glass walls or the most expensive cone beam and all of the things, despite my advice. So again, break even is everything. We are very, very sensitive to this as we coach you through the process. Break even is everything, and 20 to 25,000 is our target. So how do we make this make sense financially? Well, it's a few ways, but there's really only one way in my mind that makes the most sense. And it's this idea of, again, managing your expenses and keeping personal income coming in. So yes, if you do a startup, the idea is you will continue to work 2 to 3 days for the first 9 to 18 months, depending on how much money you make and how hard that gap is to cover. So if you make, like I talked to someone yesterday, when he makes $350,000, that's definitely an outlier. Most of you on the call are not making $350,000. Most of you aren't making $250,000. Most of you, statistically speaking, are in the 150 to 180 range. Well, making 180 and jumping to a startup is actually quite easy. Someone that makes 350 going to a startup, that's going to be a little more challenging. So I don't know what kind of doctor you are or how much money you make, but let's talk. Let's get on the phone and figure out how we do this. But most of you need to start and continue to work for let's just call it a year minimum to keep revenue coming into you personally. Meanwhile, I get you guys to break even somewhere in month 5, 4 or 5. And then you'll end up projected to make about 80 grand in profit your first year, if not 100. So whatever you can make as a part-time associate plus somewhere between 80 to 100,000 and add the two together, yeah, I probably could get you guys to 150, 180. It's very doable, but I think a lot of people don't do startups because they don't know that, and that's the facts. But how do you make 80? How do you make 100 to an 80? Well, you start minimal. Those of you that think you're going to hire a hygienist and have him just sit around, that's not a good idea. You can do it. You just won't break even somewhere between 4 to 6. You'll probably break even 8 to 9 months because you have a $45 to $75 an hour hygienist sitting there twiddling their thumbs. You also might be thinking, oh, I'm going to need an office manager for, $38 an hour. No, you don't need that. You don't have the patient flow for another provider. You don't have the patient flow to give an office manager a huge salary just because she knows how to bill. Dude, she's going to be billing 3 claims, 4 claims a day for the first, call it 1 to 5 months. You don't need an office manager. You don't need to provide all the benefits and hours that someone like that is going to require. So you have to be smart about a phased staffing approach. As you get volume, you increase your capacity. That's just the bottom line. And we have a formula and approach to do that with our clients. The other thing is automatically built in is a financial kind of ease in fail safe. Why do startups not fail? Well, because there's built-in safeguards. So the first safeguard is negotiating your lease, getting either graduated payments out of the landlord or just free rent for a period of time to help you grow and get into that business. Me and a real estate expert will be working very hard to not only cover free rent during the construction phase, which is usually 5-6 months, through even times that you're operating. Hopefully we can get a month or 3 months or more if we can of actual free rent so that you can get to a break-even point quicker. Number 2, lending. Lending is super important. There's a lot of amazing lenders. They do some incredible things, but most of them give you some kind of graduated payment. Some kind of graduated payment. We're going to cover that in the next slide as well. So you've got a discounted rent, hopefully some kind of graduated rent payment, and you've got a graduated loan payment. You're managing your staff, you're keeping your other job, and you're also getting some working capital. So I actually want to pivot to that. Lending. So from a lending perspective, I do see some questions in there, guys. I'll get to that. I promised you all would end within an hour. This might actually end up being 45 minutes unless I get going on a rant, but I'll answer your questions at the end, so hang tight. So lending. So I just mentioned lending is a huge pitfall in the startup process. If you choose the wrong lender and undercapitalize this project, your project, you will stress more. If they don't give you enough money to build and have a good marketing and consulting budget and have enough for working capital to run your business for, like I said, 6 months, you're hurting yourself, right? And so not only with the graduated payments that they're giving you somewhere around $100,000 to $150,000 of working capital, they will also carve out a marketing and consulting budget. Now, I will say this, guy. Oh, last thing is sometimes they'll give you, the good ones will give you a 15-year term. So not only are they giving you graduated payments, but they're also stretching the loan out, which again gives you cash flow. It's very, very important. You need cash flow. You need to get your break-even point down so that you have a chance to make some money early on in the business, so that you can invest in another operatory, maybe invest in the scanner that you didn't get, maybe invest in another dental assistant or hygienist one day a week. But you need cash capital to make great decisions, maybe double down. I got on a call today, and it was one of my clients who's 7 months in. We looked at his marketing, and his marketing's working really well. And I'm like, dude, you need to double down. We have been running your marketing for 6 months and it's working. Double down and increase your volume. He's like, okay. And he had the cash to do it because we maintained his budget throughout the project. So again, managing that budget, I keep saying it tonight, is very important, because those dollars need to be earmarked for marketing, consulting, maybe extra working capital to keep stress down. Okay. It's also important to note that a lot of lenders don't have you making payments during the construction phase. I didn't mention that. So like, guys, if I go and get a loan, I don't have a DDS DMD behind my name. My loan would be 20% down. So I'm borrowing $1 million. I have to put 200 grand down. I would not get a fixed rate. It would be probably subject to prime. So it'd be a variable rate of some sort, probably. I wouldn't get a ton of working capital because they would have required me to have a lot of cash on hand. I would need a 30-page business plan on why they should give me money. Like, these are the easiest loans ever, which I think have created laziness. And I'm challenging you all to get smart about this process with help from us or even another consultant, but think through this stuff. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, that is the last slide, but I did want to answer some questions before we wrap this up. But my big thing, guys, is get very intentional, reverse engineer what you're trying to do, and anybody that's selling you can't help you do that. So like, I'm selling you guys right now, sure. But like, once I become my client's consultant, now I'm a trusted advisor. I am their fiduciary, and together we're helping our clients create a business plan and move forward. If you walked up to a lender, contractor, not all, but for the most part, none of them are going to help you create a business plan for yourself. And I'm not just saying write one, but know it, understand it, think about it, reverse engineer it, be intentional. Anybody that's selling you an interest rate, a piece of equipment, a computer or software, anything is they can't advise you on this stuff. They can't. With a fiduciary heart. I mean, just in general, I'm just saying in general, there's some great, amazing people out there. I'm not saying that they're all bad. No, that's not what I'm saying. There's amazing people out there that do what they do really well, but they don't know exactly what you're trying to do. So don't put them in that position. Okay. Just because I promised, I'm going to answer some questions here. Here we go. Jordan, how often did you have to pull versus them coming to you in the way that is efficient, in the way that we here hope to be? So I'm not sure what you mean by how often do you have to pull. Maybe you could clarify that one, Jordan. Help me out. And maybe that was a part two to your original question. So I'll jump back up to your question. What do you think about the recent major DSOs having financial troubles, filing bankruptcy? How do you see these trends affect private practice ownership? How do we adapt? Do we need to scale our expectations in any way? Is there a way that we can use this to our advantage And are there ways we can build our offices to either take advantage and prevent unnecessary hardship? Jordan, I love that question. And you're 100% right. The DSOs have been struggling for the last 3 years. I love that you know that. That is I'm tipping my hat to you paying attention to what's going on. And you sound like a really great entrepreneur. So congratulations. I will tell you right now, you guys, DSOs are not working super well because their whole model is cut costs based on volume, negotiate with you dentists, maybe give you a tiered wage but do some kind of production driven tiered wage. But and then, they don't have to deal with, not some of them do. A lot of them do, but like they don't have to debt service the same way you guys have to debt service. So the one thing they cannot control is the wages environment. So when the hygienists, the dental assistants, and even some front office, and not so much front, dental assistants and hygienists out of COVID jacked the wages way up, as you all know, and that just crushed their profits. And so a lot of them are absolutely struggling. And by the way, a lot of them are not having a lot of success recapping, which means, folks, that means they're buying practices at a value, and then they'll tranche those. They'll put a bunch of them together and then sell it again at the top to someone else even bigger at an even higher valuation. And they're not being successful on that recap. And so can you guys take advantage of that? You know what? Their position today is an opportunity for you all, but it always has been. Any private practice that I've set up shop right beside a DSO or some kind of chain always does really well because of the customer service, the high touch white glove approach, and the way you guys do preventative dentistry. The model is very get a lot of volume and sell them resto and don't care about hygiene. I'm not saying that's all DSOs, but like that model doesn't really sit well with a lot of patients, and patients are understanding what that looks like. And so I don't see DSOs as our competition. But remember, I'm not going into an area, or I don't suggest that my clients go into the other area or go into areas where there's massive competition. I would love to see okay or very light competition. And if there's a lot of DSOs in that area, even better. So it's like a cherry on top, Jordan. Great question. You helped me. You said mention the lenders you are often polling clients clients who do not have a plan. So like polling clients who do not have a plan. I guess all I'm saying there is you should approach the lenders with just a better plan in general. And that's what we provide and we help execute too. So going back to that original slide, the 3 layers. So having goals, planning, and then executing, I see a lot of people skipping right to execution and process. And it starts with the goal first, then planning, then execution. So yeah, like I hope I really made that obvious in this presentation, that a lot more planning needs to go into that. Let's see here. Anybody else while we're answering questions? Jordan, thank you so much for asking some great questions. We're landing this bird here pretty quickly. Anybody that needs to get questions, please do that. So can you define struggling slash metrics, struggling metrics? I would say struggling metrics could be all kinds of things, guys. But What I look at for startups specifically is new patient flow. I want you to be in the 30s as quick as possible. Retention rates, so pre-appointment and case acceptance, are very important for startups, because if I get 30 patients today and in 6 months I'm reappointing, let's say 25 or 28 of those, and then I also get 30 that same new month in 6 months. So now I'm getting 30 plus the 25 that I reappointed from the first month. Now I'm looking at 55 patients working 12 days a month. Now I'm closer to 5 patients per month versus just the 2 to 3. So it starts snowballing very quickly if you have high case acceptance, low cancellations and no-shows, and high reappointment rates. Very, very important for startups. The other metrics that I see for these poor startups is they're not collecting their damn money. You guys, tonight we talk about planning and doing all of this just to be successful, and then spending a shit ton of money in marketing, and we're doing all these things, and then we finally get a call and we book them and we do a fantastic job with the clinical work and we get the Google review. We're doing all the things, and then at the final 1 yard line, we don't collect the money. You guys, what are we doing here? And you're like, oh yeah, of course. Guys, when you own your business, you will have a hard time with ARs. It's a fact. So metrics of collecting over 98% of what you produce is an absolute must. There's offices that are doing $1 million in production collection, and they could survive by having terrible collection rates, 85% collection rates, which is horrible, absolutely horrible. But they could survive. A startup can't survive if you don't execute and do all of the mechanical things perfectly. Once you open, you only have 2 or 3 patients a day. You have to do it all right. Hiring the right people that understand that, or hiring us to help you bill, all of that makes sense. New patients, how many new calls did you get? How many of those did you convert? I had a podcast website. Dan, thank you for sharing. We had a huge DSO conversation. Jordan, watch that episode. That one's for you. For the other people that are listening, we've had a lot of podcasts on Dental Unscripted, which is our podcast, about marketing companies getting punched in the teeth by you guys, because you all are like, well, I'm spending thousands of dollars and the marketing companies are not producing. Well, the truth is none of you are tracking calls. So we're so fixated on the new patient counts. Like I said tonight, 25, 35 new patient counts. How many calls did you get? Did you get 50 calls and only converted 25 or picked up 25? How many missed calls? How many did you convert? How many people called and said, how much is your crown? And the front office person didn't answer it right. So the marketing company could get you 50, 100 calls and you only converted 25. Then the 25 that you converted, you are dropping the ball in the operatory and only getting 40% case acceptance. You can see how the funnel just gets so small, but the marketing company did their job. They gave you 50 calls, you converted 25, and then only 10 said yes to your treatment. It's a huge funnel. So any metric that's looking at all of that equals fast success, quicker break even, and just successful startups. So hopefully that helped you all. Okay. Landing this bird. Anand, you popped in. You got any questions? Anybody else? Any got questions while we land this bird? While you guys are typing, if you're typing, I will offer you a demographic report on an area. If you send me an address, I will give you the demographics on that area. Similar to what we looked at earlier today. It's not the full blown one. That cost me about $1,000 to get, but I'm not going to pay $1,000 for you. But if you're looking at a specific area or a practice to purchase or something, and you want to know what that area looks like, send me the address. I'm happy to send you the demographics on that area, and we can look at it, and I'll give you my opinion on it. So that's my big give tonight. Without further ado, guys, please reach out. Look, you get what you're hearing right now. Our team loves helping startups. We do a lot of them every single year with great success, over 100 Google reviews. Our podcast is called Dental Unscripted or Uncensored. We flipped it. Dental Uncensored. No, Unscripted. Oh my gosh, just melted down there. But there's a link there that you can click on and look at all of our episodes. Check them out. And I'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for tonight. And I'll give you 1 or 2 more minutes to ask any questions you all have while you still got me. If not, we're going to enjoy the rest of the night. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, guys. Take care.